I'm gonna hold your hand while I tell you this. We need to get through our video game backlog. And yes, I said we because I am right there with you. I feel like when gaming, and specifically cozy gaming, is a big part of your life and one of your main hobbies, especially recently since we've been getting more new games, more options, which obviously is amazing and very exciting, it can be easy to fall into the trap of buying more and more games than you're able to get through. And recently, I've been thinking a lot about ways that I can actually get through the games in my backlog. Let's be real, I'm not gonna get through my entire backlog, but at the very least, I'm gonna implement some steps so that I can get through as much as possible. So I have made a list of 4 tips that might help you get through your backlog in 2025. Consider this a gentle, cozy intervention. Let's get started. My first tip is to make a game menu. It might sound a little bit weird, but bear with me. I want you to sit down and try to make a list of every single game that you have, including all of your consoles. For me, this means my Switch and my computer. I feel like this is really helpful for many reasons. First of all, if you're anything like me, there are probably a lot of games that you don't even remember that you have. So it might be helpful to get familiar with the games that you do have in your catalog and maybe even get excited to start one of these games that you didn't remember you had. Another reason is that it'll also make your backlog a little bit more tangible. I feel like when you have so many games and so many consoles, it can be hard to know even how many games you have. So putting them all in the same place is a very good way to get rid of that backlog blindness, I guess. And the third one, which I think is the most important one, this is an easier way to pick out what game you want to play next. You can make it a really pretty menu with pictures and descriptions. You can make it cute, you can do it by hand, you can do it on your Notion if you're a Notion girly. I know I have some Excel girlies, so if you want to put it in an Excel sheet, go wild with it. You can even look at it as like, ooh, what kind of game I want to play today? Let me look at my little menu, and then it'll make it more enjoyable for you to pick out a game. You can also make it as simple or as organized as you would like. I would recommend categorizing your games if that's something that you're interested in. I personally like categorizing my games into a few categories. The first one, whether they are brainless games or games that I need brain power to get through. This is important for me because depending on the day and depending on the week, I might not have the brain power to grab a game that is very heavy. So I might want to gravitate toward a game that is a little bit easier on the brain cell, you know? Seeing what games I have in my backlog that fall under that category makes it easier for me to choose. I also like categorizing them between games that I have started, games that I have not started. In that way, I can prioritize the games that I have already started. This is a good opportunity to get really honest about the games that you have, because you can even add a category of games that you bought and played for a little bit and didn't like. Not only are you going to learn more about your tastes in gaming, and in the future you can be like, okay, this game is really popular, but I've played something similar in the past and that's just not my taste. Also, just learn about the things that you have liked. What are the games that you have finished? What are the games that you have not stopped playing? I think this is just a way to be more mindful with the games that you already have. But yeah, that is my tip number 1. Just get familiar with your games, you know? The second tip I have is to make gaming a habit. I feel like when you're younger, it's easier to just happen to stumble upon time to game. And when you become an adult, it's harder to find that time. If you already know what games you have and kind of have become a little bit more mindful of the games that you might be more likely to gravitate toward, then trying to make gaming a habit is something that you can start focusing on. Maybe you're like, man, I miss those days where I would spend time doing this. I want to get better at spending more time gaming because it's something that brings me joy. There are different ways that you can incorporate new habits or reinforce habits in your life. You can do a little bit of habit tracking if that's something that you are interested in. Get a little habit tracker and be like, I'm gonna try to game 3 times a week, for example, and then you tick it. I find that really satisfying. Another thing that I find really helpful when it comes to habits is my environment. Especially if you're neurospicy, it's really important to consider how do you interact with your environment and how much is your environment conducive to the habits that you want to form in your life? A big example that people give about this, you're running shoes next to your bed, so every time that you wake up you see your shoes, and that's the cue that then leads you to a certain habit. We're not trying to go for runs here. This is a dilly-dally type of channel. How is your environment conducive to your gaming habit? Maybe you keep your Switch in a drawer away from your bed and you rarely get to see it. This happens to me all the time. After a long day of work, you get home and then you forget you even have a gaming console. You end up doom scrolling on your phone until you fell asleep. Obviously, no judgment here. There are times where I have found, man, I wish I used that time for something that brings me more joy, like gaming. So maybe consider making your space more conducive to the habit of gaming. Maybe instead of keeping your Switch on your dock, you might want to keep it on your nightstand, because you know every night you get into bed and you get a little bit of gaming before you fall asleep. I recently realized that I wanted to make this space here in this corner my little cozy gaming and reading corner. This has completely changed my habit around gaming and my cozy hobbies in general and reading. It reminds me to take that time for myself at the end of the day rather than defaulting to doom scrolling on my phone has been really, really helpful for me. And I even finished a game last weekend. Like, I started it that same weekend and then I finished it. I was quite impressed by that because that doesn't happen often. I actually made a video, I'm gonna link it up here somewhere, talking about how I did my little cozy corner makeover, if that's something that you're interested in. But yes, making small changes to your environment can make a huge difference, which leads me to my next tip. And it might sound a little obvious, but you're gonna have to schedule time for gaming. I know that sounds so boring, but I feel like this is one of those things that the more you do it and the more you realize how much fun you're having, the more likely you are to schedule that time in, if that makes sense. Like I said, when you're a kid, it is way easier to find the time to game in your life. I can remember being a kid and sitting in front of my computer during the summer with nothing else to do but to play Sims day in, day out. Unfortunately, when you become an adult, you have more responsibilities and it is less likely that we will have a whole month to hyperfixate. This is kind of the same as scheduling time for resting, scheduling time to be with your partner. It is very, very important to schedule time for self-care in general, but also your hobbies. And if gaming is one of those things, then it is important to think of your week and see if you have little pockets of time here and there where you can just separate even just 30 minutes or 2 hours or a whole day if you have it to just sit down with the game that you've been wanting to get through. I have noticed this in my life has been the most effective way to be actually able to finish those games. You might not have 4 hours, but maybe you know that you have 30 minutes on Sundays before you go to bed, or you have 30 minutes in the mornings, so you can be like, okay, that's gonna be my dedicated time for gaming. Thinking about it that way and making time for those things that bring you joy in a more mindful way is going to help you get through your backlog faster. Which then leads me to my last tip: multitasking. You know, there are times where we just don't have the ability to make that time for gaming during the week. A nice thing for me has been finding ways that I can include gaming into my day-to-day life. So, for example, I've been trying to do a little bit of gaming while I'm on the bike at the gym. I usually get movement every single day, and I find that if I bring my Switch with me, I'm actually more likely to get more movement or spend more time at the bike, because I'm basically tricking my brain into forgetting I'm at the gym because I'm also playing a game. So something to consider. Doing some cardio and gaming, as my dear friend Nata says. Go follow my friend Nata. She's a wonderful, wonderful human. Has been a great way for me to get some gaming in while I'm also doing something good for my body. You know, or maybe you take public transport every day. This is a good opportunity for you to get a little bit of gaming in. Perhaps you have an appointment at the doctor. That's another good opportunity to bring your Switch. Another good way that I have found to incorporate more gaming into my life is during my breaks from work. If you're someone who works from home and you're trying to get progressive breaks here and there, it could be a really good idea to incorporate gaming into those breaks. I feel like it's a good way to kind of get your brain off of work. Or you can even bring your Switch into your 30-minute break at the office. That's such a fun way to kind of disconnect from work for 30 minutes while you're having your lunch at work. Maybe you're going to the park or sitting by the pool. There's so many possibilities. Multitasking, within reason, of course, is honestly a way that makes situations that might be a little dull or repetitive a lot more fun, at least for me. Maybe trying to incorporate your game in a multitasky way could be helpful. And my bonus tip, just be patient with yourself. Having a cozy gaming hobby is not supposed to be stressful. There are so many fun games coming out. It's so easy to want to get them all and try them all. I find that when I shame myself about how many games I have, I am just way less likely to actually want to play those games because it defeats the purpose of the fun of having this hobby in the first place. So just be gentle with yourself, be patient with yourself. If you don't feel like finishing a game, that's okay. If you want to jump from one game to another, that's all right, as long as you make sure to get back to it and try to finish it. Another thing that I will say is that if you see that there's a lot of hype around a game and you're really tempted to get it, that game's not gonna go anywhere. You can buy it at any point whenever you want. Instead of buying it the same day that it comes out, maybe try waiting a week. Try and see what people are saying about it. Is it worth it? Getting through your backlog, it's not supposed to feel like a job. It's supposed to be fun. So truly just find whatever works for you and whatever feels good for you, you know? That is the end of the intervention. Those are all the tips that I have for you today. Please let me know in the comments if there are any other tips that have been helping you get through your backlog. I need all the tips that I can get this year. And also let me know if you're actually gonna try any of these. I'm interested. If you made it to the end and you like these styles of videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help my channel a lot. If you like anything cozy gaming and cozy lifestyle related, you're gonna like this corner of the internet. But most importantly, remember to take care of yourself, have some rest, have some water, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.